Growing up, I always knew that I wanted to be an author. I still do. I read a lot of books back then, mainly from prolific authors such as Aaron Hunter, Rick Riordan, and Lisa McMahon, but mainly Aaron Hunter. At the age of 9, I decided to make my own novel inspired by the Aaron Hunter universe called Canine Kingdoms. I managed to get a whopping 9 chapters in, which sounds impressive for a 9-year-old, until you learned I was under 4,000 words long, so the chapters weren't that long. Today, I'm going to be rereading my old wolf novel for your entertainment, so buckle up and prepare to cringe so hard that you get cramps. Before we get started, if you're new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post animal fiction content so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Now without further ado, let's begin, and I'd feel guilty if I was using a speed paint for the entire video like I do most of the time, and I'd feel even worse just scrolling through the entire document, so I hope you enjoy this little popsicle stick puppet show as I read through this document of dread and terror. Now let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. Luna. The stars called to Luna's spirit, and their dance in the sky was a musical, with an amazing song made by nature's precious jewel, wildlife. Already, I have a lot of thoughts about this. I really thought I cooked with this back then, but the prose is so purple that even I, a purple aficionado, do not like it. Luna's black fur had miniature white dots that seemed to sparkle like the stars, and they sky blue paws. Her eyes were the color of violets. Holy mother of sparkle dogs! The forest leaves enclosed around her. Rather, the forest leaves enclosed around her. Maple, pine, bay, birch, and many others contributed to this wonderful sensation of peace. Maybe I won't have to be out here for much longer, Luna thought hopefully. What Luna's feeling here is a bit confusing. In one sentence, she's described as feeling at peace in the forest, but in the next she hopes that she won't have to be out there for any longer. Anyways, a deer trotted a tiny bit from her, and Luna stepped forward, trying to keep her tail still. She made sure she didn't step on any dead leaves or any tiny shrubs as she stalked the deer. The grass stirred around her as the breeze made leaves pick up. She was downhill of the deer, so she could smell it, but it couldn't smell her. She had learned that trick long ago. She sprang out of hiding as it began to drink from a stream. The deer started to bounce away, but it wasn't fast enough. Luna's jaws enclosed around the deer's neck, and great horned owls began to circle above. I don't think great horned owls do that, but okay. That was a good strategy. Of course, I would have done it better. A large golden retriever emerged from the bushes, eyes on the deer. Yes, there are domesticated dogs in this story. This story is called Canine Kingdoms, not Wolf Kingdoms. Domesticated dogs such as golden retrievers, German shepherds, and even pugs exist. How they came to be without humans, I do not know. Maybe there was some sort of eugenics program like in Beastars, but I cannot comprehend the world-building choices of 9-year-old me. Thank you, Soul, but we all know you can only catch birds, ducks, and fish, Luna said teasingly, voice soft and with happiness. Soul scoffed, fluffing his fur up. Yes, the characters in the story are named Soul and Luna, in case you forgot that this was written by a literal 9-year-old. Soul went back into the bushes and emerged with a large trout in his jaws. See, I can catch large fish, Soul exclaimed. Going back on past fights, Luna thought, that is very childish. We better head back. We want to get at least a tiny bit of sleep, Luna recommended. Soul nodded, his green eyes trying to find the moon. They walked through the forest and approached a large clearing. Poking through the trees were 4 large towers and a large central building. The castle was built out of stone and gravel paths weaved through the trees. A fire was lit on one of the towers. Pyro must still be up there. When will he stop making trouble, Luna thought. Every wolf or dog in the pack knew that Pyro was annoying. He yelled in the library and always was distracting in classes for younger members. Pyro sounds like a fun guy. I don't understand why Luna's so mad at him. Anyways, yes, this paragraph starts off with anyways. That's not just me saying anyways this time. The castle belonged to the Oak Sapling Pack. one of the 4 protecting packs of the heart of the Forest Kingdom. At the heart of the kingdom was the Forest Castle. It was huge, grand, and mystery surrounded it. A huge arch led into the courtyard where neatly organized piles of food stood. Bucks and doe were separated, and so were trouts and minnows. There were also foragers in the pack, so berries, nuts, and fruits were organized. Luna dropped her doe in the pile where doe went, and Sol sloppily put his trout in the trout pile. "Freeze! Did you organize correctly today?" shouted Tara. Tara was the pug. Yes, I told you there were pugs earlier, do not act surprised about it. Behind the idea of finding a new way to sort, and he was in charge of the project. "Oh dear, Luna, you and Sol worn yourselves out. Your eyesight really is good. We are blessed to have found you, Luna," Tara said. Luna blushed. She wasn't born in the oak sapling pack. They had found her, and everyone agreed that she was good at seeing in the dark. "Thank you, Tara." Luna began to walk towards the back right tower, very specific, where a staircase led down to a large cave system. A wooden door divided the girls' side from the boys' side. Every bed had a small hut surrounding it, and had many places for storing objects. Luna's hut was made entirely from wood. Deerskins covered up small holes, and her bed was made from ivy, leaves, and hareskins. The ivy made the base layer, and the leaves were the second layer. Very specific once more. Luna chased her tail around in several circles before lying down and closing her eyes, falling asleep. Well, that chapter introduced some cool concepts. The pack overall seems like a fun place. Pyro is a fantastic character who will no doubt inspire drama, and Sol seems like a perfect supporting brother for Luna. Unfortunately, you will never see any of these characters again. Such is the fate of most characters mentioned in this story, so do not get attached to anyone. Chapter 2, Peaches. Editor Rogan here, and I just realized this chapter transition might be a bit jarring because neither I nor the story itself tells you what's happening. So we're switching from Luna's perspective to the perspective of a wolf called Peaches. Peaches is a guard in the city. He is not a part of her pack, but we will see Luna again. "Wake up! You were supposed to be awake 53 seconds ago." Peaches woke up to his friend Mudpuddle screaming in his face. Mudpuddle's eyes were as bright as the sun. Peaches nearly yelped in surprise. Surprised? Okay. Peaches' birch-colored fur went on end and green eyes widened. "How could I have slept in again? Eek, I'm getting ready." Peaches slipped on a belt with a dagger in it. He covered his paws with leather gloves. "Let's get going. We need to get to the base of this tower before Tar gets us themselves." The room was small, which was because of the spiral staircase in the middle. Peaches and Mudpuddle rushed down the stairs. Mudpuddle was wearing a mask he found while on a street patrol. That was the most common assignment. Tar was a large gray Labrador with deep yellow eyes. "You are almost late. Grab an eagle, you two, and wait for others to arrive." Tar had a rough, untamed voice that was frightening in a strange way. Half of the room was full with about 20 canines in it. They sat down at a rectangular table where all the other canines were. Genuine question, how could Mudpuddle and Peach eat an eagle each? Eagles are pretty big. As soon as all the other whats arrived, Tar began giving orders. Cinder, Storm, West Wing Palace, Crane, Raspberry, North Wing Palace. Tar continued on. Soon he assigned Mudpuddle to wall duty and Peaches to street duty. Peaches scurried to the market where thieves were common. Merchants crowded the streets, and shoppers were busy. On one of the officially built shops was a ladder, and he began to climb up to the roof where he could see the crowds better. He began going to the east entrance of the castle. He liked to think of it as a fortress, safe, protected, and always threatened from the inside. Like a castle. A suspicious-looking figure, a black wolf with barely visible white dots, was padding through the gates, a belt with a small knife hung over its shoulder. He slowly descended from the top of the tall building. How? To greet the figure. "Who are you, and why are you carrying that knife?" Peaches demanded. The she-wolf blinked in surprise. "I'm sorry if I can't bring that in. I haven't ever been here before. I'm Luna," the figure said, softly. "Must be from one of the 4 protectors." "I am Peaches. And let me guess, you are from one of the protecting packs. Moonlight Clearing? Flower Feathers? Red Springs? Oak Sapling?" Peaches asked. "Oak Sapling. Nice to meet you," Luna answered. "I need to go. Bye." That is also how I leave conversations. And then the chapter concludes with a single sentence. Peaches found himself at the palace 2 hours later. To spell T-O. What a perfect conclusion. Chapter 3, Mud Puddle. So maybe it wasn't that easy to run while sweating. Winning a bet with Yellow was worth it, and he was gonna win a lot of gold. First of all, I'm decently sure that wolves can't sweat. Second of all, why does it say it wasn't that easy to run while sweating? Because you can run and sweat, that's sort of how it works. Maybe it was supposed to be swearing, but Mud Puddle's a pretty innocent character? I don't know, let's move on. Mud Puddle's dirty brown fur moved in the wind as he raced Yellow, the yellow poodle, on the wall. The wall was made up of connections of small spirals. All of them were close together. "Stop!" Tar yelled. "The king needs you. Follow me." Tar literally appeared out of nowhere, but okay. Tar pointed one of his paws at Mud Puddle. He pointed the other at Yellow. Tar's claws were long and sharp. Mud Puddle followed Tar, and the kingdom was spread before him. Long ago, he had admired the view, but then he became ignorant, focusing on not falling off. Soon they turned a corner where a bridge connected the wall to the palace's largest tower. On other sides it was there too. Of course it was in the center of the wall. The tower had a spiral staircase. 5 floors down was the meeting room, and Mud Puddle was surprised when they stopped there. I'm surprised too. I feel entirely lost by that description, and the architecture does not make sense. Where are we? The House of Leaves? Across the room was Peaches. Why are we here? And who are those other canines? Many other canines were present in the room. Sitting directly 5 canines from Mud Puddle was a large wolf with gray fur and brown spots. His eyes were an anger color red. Atop his head lay a crown. He was King Blade. Ahem, King Blade said loudly. All the canines around the large circular table stopped talking. A black-colored wolf who was talking to Peaches turned away from him. "According to our spies in the Dark Kingdom, King Shadow went insane! We are sending scouts to the other kingdoms to retrieve a spirit object from each kingdom. We have 4 parties set up, each one with a canine from the Wood Kingdom and on from a pack," King Blade announced. "Yes, they are called spirit objects because I couldn't decide whether I wanted to call them talismans and rip off spirit animals, or to call them heartstones and rip off animal jam, or to call them something else. Representing the oak sapling, I am alpha female Rosemary. Luna is our wolf, and she is paired with Peaches. They are going to the Light Kingdom," a large red border collie announced. "I am alpha male Sandstone of Red Springs. Stream is representing our pack, and he is going with Mud Puddle. Yay, me, but where are we going?" "And they are going to the Water Kingdom." Chapter 4, Luna. It was a while since Luna and Peaches had began their journey. There is so much grammatically incorrect in that sentence that it hurts me. 2 whole days exactly. The trees had become scarce, and sand was becoming common. The sun was at its peak. "We should rest." "Look over there, a cave," Peaches exclaimed. Luna frowned. The paw covers felt weird on her paws, but they kept the heat off of her paw pads. "Just have some water," Luna recommended. "You will feel better." Peaches had a look of surprise on his face. He was in training to be a guard, but he never dealt with what to do during overheating. Great, Luna thought. "Thanks. You oak sapling canines have got to have some intense parents," Peaches said. Luna shook her head. "I wasn't born in an oak sapling pack. I was found by them," Luna explained. "Then what type of wolf are you? A woods wolf?" Peaches asked. I don't exactly have an answer for that." In her head, she felt a sense of helplessness, but she tried to shake the feeling off. "Well, probably dark wolf. Dark wolves have large paws, dark colors, and good night vision. They also have enchanting colors of eyes. That is what the chief scholar said." Peaches looked at her. "You don't sound like one. In all the stories I've heard, dark wolves have a weird poetic way of speaking," Peaches pointed out. "This is a detail that will become relevant later." "Pick up the pace. We might reach that oasis over there before you die of thirst," Luna pretended to be Peaches, but she just sounded like a pig trying to speak. "Well, that didn't happen the way I expected it to." Peaches laughed. "Race you to over there." Peaches began running, and he was a lot faster than Luna expected. "Hey, wait up," Luna shouted. Peaches nearly fell headfirst into the large pool of water. Luna reached there and bent her head down, taking a sip. The water felt cool on her hot face, and she took a long sip. "We should." Luna took another sip. "Get going. Before it is sundown." Peaches nodded, and they made their way over a large dune. The terrain was rough and barren, so when they saw a stream, they took a long time. "To drink, I assume?" from it? When night fell, they found a cave to rest in. Chapter 5, Stream. I'm going to be skipping some of this chapter because some of it is boring and not cringy. I don't have anything to comment on, so I'll just skip that part. According to Stream, Mudpuddle was terrible at setting up shelters. It wasn't hard to find the Water Kingdom because it was by the sea closest to the Wood Kingdom. The Water Kingdom was mostly swamp covered, and they were making it to the Water Castle, which was on an island. The Water Castle was an island near the Long Beach territory, and it had a bridge leading to it. The maps had the bridge. Stream thought they would be there too. And so a storm is coming in, and Stream wants to build a shelter. Mudpuddle thinks he could build his own shelter, and they end up building their own shelters. Stream completes his by the time the storm washes through, and Mudpuddle cries until he is let in. Stream creates a fire so that they can warm themselves, and then he pulls out a scroll from a large bag. Unrolling it, he saw a map of the world. The continent they were on was dry marsh. It had 3 kingdoms on it: the woods, the light, and water. Very convenient. At the edge of the Water Kingdom's part, lining the sea, there was a small island with a spirit object on it. It looked like a large jade-looking eye, and it was labeled Jade Eye. How creatively named. And also Extremelius. This all is information that should be on a map and not clumsily exposited. The spirit object in the Light Kingdom was a large snake-like topaz necklace with black eyes. It was labeled Coyote Alphastone. Only wolves and dogs use the term Alphastone for their ruler's tombstone, unless the Light Kingdom's former king died there. Observing it more carefully, he noticed it was on top of a temple-ish thing, but that wasn't their quest, of course. Stream closed his eyes and drifted into sleep. Chapter 6, Wildfire. Ooh, new character alerts! It just so happened that a curious coyote by the name of Wildfire had caught sight of the 2 wolves' camp he believed to be from a different kingdom. Wildfire lived all of his life in the Light Kingdom, living with his father. But then, Wildfire shook his head and sighed. The past is the past, he thought, quoting his father. One of them had already began to wake up a tiny bit, grabbing bits of food. The wolf had light, peachy-colored fur. Gee, I wonder who that is. Wildfire wore a black snakeskin cloak, which was cool on both sides, and in the night, it was warm. It had many pockets for storing things. Wow, that description is too edgy for me. Wildfire's fur was light brown with black on both sides of his spine. His eyes were the color of the burning sun. Wildfire looked down at our camp because he was on a dune that had a good view of the landscape. His eyes glued onto a piece of deer meat. His stomach growled. Wildfire descended from the dune and quickly snatched some. "You, come back here," yelled a second wolf. The wolves were chasing after him, so he did a sharp corner to sweep sand into the first wolf's eyes. The second wolf leaped high and tackled him. "What did he do that for?" asked the first wolf. "A scavenger's gotta do what it takes to survive, or else the Cobra King's gonna eat you. It's feed or be fed," Wildfire admitted. In case you are wondering, the Cobra King is a literal giant cobra a la Jafar. "The Cobra King? You know where he is? I'm Luna. He is Peaches," the second wolf said. "I'm Wildfire, and will you please let me get up and give me a map?" Wildfire requested. Luna got off of him, and then Peaches gave him a scroll. He unrolled it and poked up at a cobra over a temple. "No, we know it's not there. Wildfire, tell us where it's hidden," Luna recommended. "How does she know it's not there? She hasn't visited the temple yet." "Fine, I will locate the location, but..." Peaches looked at him with a suspicious gaze. "But what?" Peaches asked. "I get the cobra," Wildfire said. "We will let you get the final blow, but we will help you," Luna told him. I'm not sure why she says but here. I mean, the two are not contradictory statements at all. And why is she trusting the wolf who stole from her so fast? Chapter 7, Mudpuddle. Unfortunately, this chapter is just as boring as the last one featuring Mudpuddle and his companion, so we're going to be skimming over it. They reach the shore and they go swimming. They use goggles. The mental image of a wolf wearing swim goggles is just absolutely stunning me right now. And they swim on a coral reef. Let me just pick it up here. Mudpuddle was in awe as a shark swam graciously over him. Perfect predator. I mean, look at those teeth, he thought. Stream had already caught something orange and white, and he was going to catch something too. In case you're wondering how Stream has managed to catch something so easily, Stream is from a water pack, but I'm not sure how Mudpuddle is even swimming. A stingray stirred from atop a coral shard. Might be able to catch that, but that is one large horn at the end of its tail. He looked down and saw a small shark weaving through the reef. He swam down and tried to catch it in his claws, but couldn't get a good hold. He shoved it into coral a couple of times before it died. Mudpuddle took a moment to look at the shark. That was easy? Yeah, I agree, Mudpuddle. You've literally never swum in your life before, but now you've caught a literal shark? That's a bit overpowered. Chapter 8. Peaches. I'm not sure if we will reach there by tomorrow, the coyote said, but I know where a town is that we can stay tonight. I'm getting sick of him always giving us lies. Last time he told us he knew of a town, it wasn't there, Peaches growled in his head. Maybe you two shouldn't have trusted a literal thief then. Fine, where is it? Luna asked. It is right over that dune. What do you mean it's right over the dune? Peaches shouted. The coyote sighed. Follow me, just trust me. Can't you see the smoke? But there could be thieves and bandits. The only ones I know are my friends, Wildfire said, and everyone fell silent. They must have been in awe of his edginess. The chirps of crickets filled the air as he led them up the dune. Peaches gasped and Luna smiled. The town was huge, with many holes at the sides of the road so that they could collect water when it rained. The houses were made of sandstone, limestone, and many other rocks. Fire lit the windows. Let's go. The sun is already setting, Wildfire told them. They began to descend down the rocky, hidden side and strolled through the streets. Wildfire stopped as they came to an end of the road. A large, unused greenhouse stood at the end with lights, and loud, yelling canines were heard. As soon as they got a few paw steps in, a one-eyed German shepherd ran up to them. Wildfire, I never thought I would see you again. His voice was taunting. What favor can I do for you? Of course, you will have to pay me something. I know what you want, Sand, a tree seed, and she will give you one if you let us stay here a night. Luna took out a seed. Just like I knew. Oak sapling members always carry oak seeds. Just one would get her rich. I'm pretty sure that thought is supposed to be from Wildfire, even though we are on Peach's point of view, so good keeping consistency on that. Younger me. Deal, Sand said, snatching up the seed. Two wolves fought in the middle of a red square. At the long sides of a greenhouse were staircases. At the sides of each room were thick glass walls. Sliding glass doors were at the entrance. Ooh, sliding glass doors in a medieval fantasy setting. Very interesting. Sand opened it up and walked away. In the back corner of the room was a chair and two sets of bunk beds. When were bunk beds invented? Wildfire settled down at the bottom of the furthest one away from the door and fell asleep. Chapter 9. Yellow. Remember when I told you to forget all characters because they probably won't appear again? Yellow is the one exception. Let's hear what she has to say. Yellow felt that she and Rosalie were lucky to find the first crew sent to the Light Kingdom. Rosalie's fur was dark red and she was an Irish settler. It seemed that Rosalie's eyes were tracking every breath the strange coyote took, so I assumed that they found Luna, Peaches, and Wildfire at some point? I guess so? The strange coyote was there with their two friends. I don't know why, but I would rather trust that coyote than Rosalie. Rosalie's yellow eyes met Yellow's famously yellow eyes. She doesn't seem like she's in a pack at all. Peaches woke up. Yellow, Peaches yips, you made it, and the coyote is Wildfire. Then the coyote woke up. Wait, how did Yellow and Rosalie manage to find the three of them? Anyways, after explaining things all together, Luna woke up and they had to do it again. Rosalie's creepy stare was fascination for the she-wolf. Wait! Members of Flower Feathers always have feathers. She's a spy, Peaches exclaimed. I have no clue how they found out that Rosalie isn't carrying a feather. Maybe it's because they wear feathers? If so, it's poorly explained. Indeed I am, for that was finally opened its eyes, revealing the truth. I'm thrilled that your patience, Yellow, has been so useful, Rosalie snarled. See, I told you the poetic thing would come back at some point. Spoken like a true shadow wolf, Yellow replied. Now thou wouldn't mind a fight, would thou? Rosalie asked. She seized a spear from the corner and stood on two paws, spear in front paws. Yellow followed suit, grabbing large fighting gloves from a trunk outside of a tent. I thought they were in a greenhouse, but okay. She growled. You won't win, Shadow Wolf. Haven't you been not the greatest in thy category? I am to spy for nothing, fool, Rosalie accused. That is actually the final line of the entire story. It is the perfect line to close on because I have no clue what that line means. Just like how I have no clue over what the rest of the story even means. So that sure was something. Despite the story being full of inane details, such as the Light Kingdom using holes in the road to collect water, what the Light Kingdom or any kingdom actually is incredibly poorly explained. You've likely heard of young authors over-explaining and over-expositing about their world, slowing the story down and boring the readers to death. However, in my years of experience of reading Wattpad slop, even younger writers struggle to explain their world and instead expect you to read their mind when it comes to world building. Though I am not able to read the mind of younger me, this is what I think was going on when it comes to world building. Canine Kingdoms takes place in a world where all wolves, dogs, coyotes, and possibly foxes are sentient and can talk to each other. Hyenas do not exist. The select canines that exist live in, obviously, kingdoms. There are 6 or so kingdoms: forest, shadow, water, light, ice, and sky. At the time of the story, the Sky Kingdom may or may not be divided into tribes. Each kingdom has a magical talisman, and what do the talismans actually do? Nothing. The canines from the Water Kingdom have gills and fins. The canines from the Sky Kingdom have wings. The others have literally nothing. However, the Light Kingdom is mainly made up of coyotes, and the Ice Kingdom has Arctic wolves, so that makes those 2 kingdoms special. The Shadow Kingdom and Forest Kingdom have been in a cold war for a long time. The king in the Forest Kingdom heard a rumor that the Shadow Kingdom was going to steal all the talismans, so he sent out a task force in order to convince the other kingdoms to give him their talismans first. And that drives the plot. So now that we've set up what the world building was supposed to be, let's talk about what I think the plot was going to be for this book and the rest of the series, because I was a very ambitious person. The first book in the series, which is the one that you just heard, was called Solar Waters. However, somewhere along the way, along the years, I decided to split up into 2 different books. The first one where they visit the Light Kingdom, and the second one where they visit the Water Kingdom, so some things are a bit different in what I'm going to tell you. Luna is a wolf from the countryside, who was adopted into the oak sapling pack from unknown origins. One day, she was summoned to the capital on behalf of her pack. Whilst there, she joined a task force set up to retrieve the talismans before the notorious Shadow Kingdom could get to them. She ended up on the same team as Peaches, Prince of the Forest Kingdom, Rosalie, a secret spy from the Shadow Kingdom, Peaches' loyal best friend forever Mudpuddle, and another fellow pack wolf named Feather. They go to the Light Kingdom, and along the way, they meet Wildfire, a mysterious coyote. After a pack from the city picks a fight with them, they learn that Wildfire was the heir to the Coyote throne before the Cobra King took over, and now Wildfire wants his throne back, and vengeance for his family who the Cobra King murdered. They defeat the Cobra King and restore Wildfire to the throne. But on the way back to the Forest Kingdom, Rosalie tries to steal the talisman, revealing herself to be a traitor. Even though she was using the talisman to fight them, the other 4 wolves defeat her and return the talisman for safekeeping in the Forest Kingdom. Next, they set out for the Water Kingdom, where they free the talisman from a corrupt group of royal guards who are using it to commit crimes and plan a coup. There, they meet Stream, who returns them to the Forest Kingdom. The next kingdom that they visit is the Ice Kingdom. The talisman is held by a cruel and vindictive royal family, who uses it to create a surveillance state made up of snowmen, or snow wolves. They kill the royals and take the talisman at the cost of Stream's life. In every single draft of the story, the Sky Kingdom never comes into play. I think that they either lost their talisman or they gave it up to the Forest Kingdom a long time ago, so it's off to the Shadow Kingdom next. They sneak into the Shadow Kingdom and are somewhat shocked that their mortal enemies are, as you guessed it, somewhat normal and severely weakened by the war. They encounter Rosalie, who promises not to turn them in and tries to convince them to join the Shadow Kingdom by pointing out the Forest King's flaws. The Shadow Kingdom can barely keep themselves afloat. They aren't in any shape to take over the Forest Kingdom like he fears. And what does the Forest King plan to do with all the talismans anyways? During her stay in the Shadow Kingdom, Luna learns that she's a Shadow Kingdom wolf and struggles with this information. The pack betrays Rosalie and steals the Shadow Kingdom's talisman. Peaches goes to hand the talisman over to his father, but as he reaches his paw out, his father says something that makes Peaches know that his father has evil plans to conquer the world. Peaches, Luna, and Mudpuddle become fugitives. They escape back to the Shadow Kingdom and hand the talisman over to Rosalie. They then go to the other kingdoms that they befriended, the now free wolves of the Ice Kingdom, the royals in the Water Kingdom, and Wildfire in the Light Kingdom to ask them to stand up against the Forest Kingdom. The Forest King uses his talismans to try and take over the world, but they manage to slowly wear him down and steal his talismans until he can be defeated. Peaches becomes the new king of the Forest Kingdom, Luna becomes his queen, bringing the Forest and Shadow Kingdoms together, and the Canine Kingdoms are finally at peace. So, what do I think of Canine Kingdoms today? Believe it or not, I still haven't fully abandoned this project that I started when I was 9. Well, I did for a number of years. I gave up writing animal fiction for over 6 years, instead focusing on writing books about humans. I wrote 7 of them. I threw around animal fiction ideas, I even created an entire wiki around one of them, but I never felt comfortable writing animal fiction. But then I wrote 2 Warrior Cats fanfictions, Inferno Rising and Endless Frost. After writing those books, I felt comfortable to try writing something of my own. Since I wrote fanfiction, the definition of derivative, I now felt like I knew how to make something original and far away from the books that inspired the fanfiction. I didn't return to the idea that I had made a wiki on, and I didn't return to Canine Kingdoms, at least not at first. My initial idea was a book about wolves who lived in the Yellowstone Valley, inspired by the documentaries and books that I read as a kid. I called the series Yellowstone, but as more and more mystical and magical elements popped up in my brainstorming, I realized that naming the series after a real place might cause some nitpickers to tear at every aspect of the story, so I wanted to choose something more fantastical. I remembered this old series of mine, Canine Kingdoms, and decided to steal the name. Not even a few more moments after that, I began getting ideas of how to convert characters from the book that I wrote at 9 years old into new characters. With Luna, literally the only thing that I kept the same was the name, at least at first. She's no longer a sparkle dog, and here's her design now. She's as serious and slightly shy as ever, but now she's a kill count starting in chapter 2. I also decided to change her name to Artemis later, as Luna is a bit of an overused name. When it comes to the other characters, Peaches kept his personality but had his name changed. Rosalie had her name changed and was made into Peach's sister, but kept her fiery attitude and traitorous ideals. However, not everything has changed. The Forest Kingdom, which is now called the Kingdom of Waterblood, has a secret dark side, and her enemies might be a bit more moral than they appear on the surface. Since I read aloud the old version, I'll read out the first few paragraphs of the new version. A silver-furred wolf paced the long, gleaming metal fence of her enclosure. Within the enclosure was a sparse forest. The wolf had long become bored of it. Her yellow eyes scanned the path that ran between her enclosure and the neighboring one. Only humans walk that path, but maybe one day she could prowl there too. Her black nose twitched. On the breeze she could smell fierce mountain lions, tiny foxes, putrid gasoline, and the intoxicating scent of meat. Her stomach twisted as she took in the scent. The meat was a few days past fresh and was beginning to rot under the harsh summer sun, but she was hungry and in no mood to protest. She heard the rumbling of a cart as it rumbled down the side of her enclosure. Oh, I need to change that for sure. It squealed to a stop, and a human emerged out of its side. She smelled faintly of the vets. The human padded over to the back of the cart. She picked up a large bucket from the back of it and made her way over to the edge of the enclosure. She said something, and the wolf could tell it was directed at her. Frustrated and hungry, Artemis pawed the ground. "Give it already," she barked. The human chuckled and began throwing scraps of scarlet flesh into the enclosure. Artemis's jaws snapped around the morsels before they could hit the ground, and she gulped them down without stopping to taste. This was the closest she could ever get to hunting, even if the meat she caught was stale. There are no doubt differences between the two openings. While the second opening is descriptive, the details aren't extraneous and as random as the first version. There's also a clear establishment of a theme in the new version, that being freedom and an implication of what will happen in the story, that Artemis will perhaps gain said freedom. I feel like I've improved a lot since I was 9 years old. I mean, I sure as hell hope I did. I hope I'm not a case like Audra Winters, who started her book when she was 12, and unfortunately people could tell as she refused to edit out some of the more outdated concepts in the novel, and it's just poorly edited in general. I mean, training historian and training level poorly edited in the final published book. Whew. While I do like the concept of Canine Kingdoms, it's not like I've spent my entire life writing just it. I took a step back for over a decade, instead of investing in it to the point of refusing to change things, and came back with new ideas to implement and old things to erase. Since I wrote the first draft of Canine Kingdoms, I've been through the entire school system. I've written and completed 12 books, including the first book of Canine Kingdoms, Feral Heart. I'm glad that I was able to take a second look at this old project of mine and to take another chance on it. However, man, does that old version make me cringe. But that's all I have to say for now. Do you want to learn more about the current version of Canine Kingdoms? Do you have your own old projects that make you cringe? Or ones that you've revisited? Comment down below. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make animal fiction videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who are already subscribed, thank you so much for your continued support. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.